That question hit Bradley Henson like a sucker punch to the gut as he sat in his office, lights dimmed, staring blankly at the quarterly report spread across his desk. 6 electronics stores, 17 years. It had started in a dusty little back room where he'd fixed busted radios with nothing but a soldering iron and a dream. And now, it was a regional chain spanning 3 states. By every measurable standard, it was a success. But lately, it felt hollow. The numbers were solid, the products top tier. That wasn't the problem. It was the people, the spirit, the soul. Something essential had gone missing along the way, and Bradley couldn't ignore it anymore. Just last night, he'd stumbled across a review online, a woman describing a visit to Store 4. Cold and unhelpful, she'd written, like the staff didn't even want to be there. Another said she'd been laughed at for asking a simple question. It made his skin crawl. At first, he'd brushed it off. Everyone has off days, right? But a gnawing doubt began to take root. He realized something quietly devastating. He no longer knew most of the staff at the newer locations. In chasing growth, he'd stepped back, delegated hiring to a district manager named Trevor. On paper, Trevor was a rock star, efficient, driven, but Bradley had always trusted his gut, and right now it whispered, something's off. So he made a choice that would change everything. Not a press release, not an angry memo from the top. He would go undercover, not like those gimmicky billionaire sting ops with cameras and makeup. No, Bradley was going to live it, to see with his own eyes. It became Doug, a recently retired HVAC technician, looking to kill time and pick up a part-time gig in retail electronics. He chose Store 4, Ground Zero, for the worst feedback. It was far enough from headquarters that no one would recognize him. Perfect. He transformed himself, shaved his beard, dyed his hair gray, added a slight limp, thick-rimmed glasses, dentures that subtly altered his jawline. Baggy jeans, a flannel shirt 2 sizes too big, and a sun-faded baseball cap completed the illusion. In the mirror, he didn't see Bradley Henson anymore. He saw a tired old man who just wanted to stay busy. That Thursday morning, Doug walked through the sliding doors of Store 4 at 8:45 a.m. The store was spotless, too spotless. It had that artificial showroom feel, sanitized, impersonal, like no human interaction had ever taken place. At the front register, a slouched young man barely lifted his eyes from his phone. No greeting, no warmth, just apathy. Then a tall man in a too-tight polo shirt and slicked-back hair approached briskly. "You must be Doug," he said, without a smile, without a handshake. "I'm Mason, store manager. Follow me." Mason walked fast, not once checking if Doug was keeping up. In the back room, he tossed over his shoulder. "We're short-staffed, 2 call-outs. Had to send someone to Store 2. You'll be shadowing Mia today. Try not to slow her down." Bradley kept his voice gravelly and slow. "Sure thing." Mia was a breath of fresh air. Mid-20s, quick on her feet, and patient beyond her years. She walked him through the store layout, inventory checks, and how to handle basic customer questions. She had a kindness in her voice, a genuine presence that stood out like a sunflower in concrete. Later in the break room, Mason spoke just loud enough for Mia to hear. "She's one of the good ones, but not management material, too soft." Bradley saw it. The flicker in Mia's eyes. She heard it, even though she pretended not to. And in that moment, something deep inside him shifted. This wasn't just about profits or policies anymore. This was about people. By mid-morning, Bradley was learning the ropes quickly. He stayed close to Mia, assisting customers with finding the right cables, batteries, and explaining return policies. She never lost her patience, even with customers who repeated the same question 3 times. Her professionalism was effortless, but under it, Bradley could sense the quiet pressure she was under. Then, at 11:30 a.m., The store's cold detachment was shattered. An elderly man shuffled in, leaning heavily on a walker. His flannel coat hung off him like it belonged to someone bigger, someone stronger. In his shaky hands, he clutched a crumpled handwritten list. "Excuse me, young man," he said gently to Mason, who just happened to be walking past. "Could you help me find a wireless route, or router, something like that?" Bradley watched from a few feet away. Mason barely suppressed an eye roll. "Sir, it's literally the first aisle. Big sign that says networking. You can read, right?" The old man blinked, flustered. "Well, yes, I just—" "You want me to hold your hand too?" Mason added, his voice loud enough to cut through the room. A teenage boy nearby turned to his mom, stunned. The mom shook her head and whispered something before leading her son away. Bradley felt heat rise in his chest. Not just anger, shame. This was his company. His name might not be on the name tags, but it was written all over the culture. Before he could say anything, Mia stepped in. "I'll help you, sir," she said warmly, guiding the man toward the aisle with a gentle hand on his back. Mason walked away, muttering under his breath, "People need to stop treating retail workers like babysitters." Bradley stood frozen. A storm of regret and responsibility churned inside him. This wasn't just a bad apple. This was a symptom of something far deeper, and he was going to get to the bottom of it. Bradley stood frozen in place, a heavy silence ringing in his ears. The review? It hadn't been exaggeration or a bad day. It had been a cry for help. Now, seeing it unfold in real time, he understood. This wasn't a one-off incident. It was systemic. It was the culture. And he had let it happen. He finished his shift in silence, his movements mechanical. He restocked shelves. He swept aisles. He observed. Mason barked orders at employees with the sharpness of a man trying to assert control rather than lead. Then he'd vanish into the back, gone for long stretches. When he returned, it was only to criticize, never to contribute. Mia, by contrast, was everywhere, calming tense customers, covering for no-shows, answering questions that weren't hers to answer. She never complained, but Bradley could see the wear in her eyes. 2 other staff members barely acknowledged customers, their silence speaking volumes. Connor, the assistant manager, was practically a ghost, glued to his phone in the back room. That night, Bradley lay on a thin motel mattress, the ceiling above him as blank as his thoughts. The ache in his chest wasn't just exhaustion, it was guilt. He had started this company to serve people better, people like the elderly man earlier, people like Mia, people who deserved to be seen, respected. Somewhere along the line, in the chase for expansion and efficiency, he had lost the thread. But now he could trace the rot to its roots. The next morning he arrived early. The parking lot was still mostly empty, quiet, except for the soft hum of an old red sedan parked near the loading dock. As he neared the side entrance, he noticed someone inside the car. Mia. She was rubbing her forehead with both hands, her uniform polo neatly folded on the passenger seat. Her eyes were swollen, rimmed with the redness that came not from allergies, but from holding in too much for too long. Bradley tapped gently on the window. She startled, then rolled it down halfway. "You okay?" he asked, his voice low, steady. Mia blinked, then nodded too quickly. "Yeah, just allergies." He didn't press. "We've got 10 minutes. Want to walk in together?" She hesitated. Then, quietly, she picked up her shirt and got out, falling into step beside him. As they walked to the front entrance, they said nothing, but the silence felt shared, almost comforting. Inside, Mason was already pacing, phone in hand. "You two planning on clocking in sometime this week?" he snapped, without looking up. Mia didn't respond. She just headed for the locker room. Bradley moved to the register, tapping the screen to sign in. Mason glanced up. You're outside your training block. We don't pay for early birds. Bradley nodded, stepping aside. No point arguing, not yet. But he studied Mason more closely now. The man's tension wasn't stress. It was control. Calculated dominance. Every word he spoke was designed not to motivate, but to diminish. At 9 a.m. sharp, the doors opened. The first customer was a woman juggling 3 children, 2 toddlers in a double stroller, and a boy no older than 7 trailing beside her. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, scanning the aisles like she was searching for air in a sinking ship. Mia stepped forward gently. Looking for anything in particular? The woman nodded, relief on her face. A portable charger, something that works with my phone, and maybe my tablet too. Sure, I can show you a few options. Mia replied, motioning for Bradley to follow. They walked to the back, where the portable accessories were displayed. Mia picked up 2 different models, explaining compatibility, battery life, and pricing clearly and patiently. The woman listened, nodding while gently rocking the stroller. Then Mason's voice tore through the moment like a whip. You 2 planning to take all day on accessories? The woman flinched. Mia kept her focus. Bradley turned. She had a question about compatibility, he said, his tone calm, steady. Mason raised an eyebrow. We're not a concierge service. If they can read the box, they can figure it out. The woman stood frozen, her lips slightly parted in shock. We're good here, Mia said quietly, just finishing up. The woman didn't buy anything. She whispered a thank you to Mia and left, eyes lowered. By noon, Bradley had seen enough to know that dysfunction wasn't limited to isolated moments. It was embedded, woven into the store's very DNA. Connor spent most of his time pretending to sort returned shipments in the stockroom. At one point, Bradley found him there playing a game on his tablet, earbuds in. When he noticed Bradley, he didn't even bother hiding it. New guy, right? He smirked. If Mason asks, I'm doing inventory. Bradley just nodded and walked away. The rot wasn't just at the top, it had seeped downward. Later that afternoon, a young man in a wheelchair arrived with his brother, searching for noise-canceling headphones. Mia was helping another customer, so Bradley stepped in. He opened the display case, handed over several models, and explained the features in detail. The customer lit up, testing them with genuine interest. Then Mason appeared like a shadow. You can't open that case without clearance, he said flatly. Bradley turned. The customer wanted to try them on. Then you should have called someone qualified, Mason snapped. That case has high-value inventory. Bradley looked at the brothers, both tense now. Is there a problem? The younger one asked. No, sir, Bradley said. We'll take care of you. But Mason didn't back down. From now on, you don't touch anything locked, unless I say so. Bradley nodded again. Understood. 5 minutes later, the brothers left empty-handed. At the end of the shift, Mia sat on a stool behind the counter, massaging her wrist. Her shoulders were slumped, and the weight of the day pressed down on her like lead. Bradley approached gently. You doing okay? She looked up slowly. I used to love working here, she said. He didn't interrupt. I started at store 2. It was different. People helped each other. Managers cared. When they moved me here, everything changed. Bradley leaned on the counter, listening. Mason runs people into the ground, she continued. He makes us push products even when customers don't need them. If we don't hit quota, we get fewer hours. He calls it performance-based scheduling. Bradley's jaw tightened. And no one says anything? He asked softly. She gave a dry laugh. We used to. The guy before me filed a complaint. 2 weeks later, they transferred him 40 miles away. No car. He quit. What about Connor? He's just a shadow. Does whatever Mason says. Doesn't care what happens to the rest of us. That night, Bradley sat in his car, parked in the farthest corner of the lot, headlights off, radio silent. He played Mia's words over and over in his mind. Not just words, warnings. Performance-based scheduling, intimidation, public humiliation, manipulation disguised as leadership. This wasn't just bad management. It was a betrayal of everything he believed in. And it was time to take it back. Honesty had been punished, silence had been rewarded, and now that cycle was over. The next morning, Bradley didn't slip through the employee entrance. He didn't limp, didn't wear glasses, and he wasn't Doug anymore. He walked through the front doors at 10 a.m. sharp, dressed in a navy blazer and polished shoes. Every inch of him said leadership. Mason was chatting with Connor by the checkout counter when he caught sight of Bradley and froze. The color drained from his face. Bradley didn't slow. "Morning," he said, calm and direct. Mason blinked. "Can I help you?" "You can," Bradley replied, voice steely. "Gather the staff, right now." Connor instinctively stepped back. Mason hesitated. "Now," Bradley said again. Minutes later, the entire team was assembled by the customer service desk. Mia stood toward the back, eyes narrowed with confusion. The cashier from earlier leaned on the counter, arms crossed, watching. Bradley turned to face them. "My name is Bradley Henson. I'm the founder and owner of this company." Silence swept through the group like a thunderclap. "For the past 2 days, I've worked alongside you under a different name. I've seen how this store runs. I've heard how people are treated. And I'm not impressed." Mason's face turned crimson. "Sir, I had no idea." Bradley raised a hand to stop him. "Don't." He scanned the room, locking eyes with every employee. "This store isn't failing because of numbers, it's failing because of leadership, because customers are being humiliated, because good people are overworked, unappreciated, and ignored. That ends today." He turned to Mason. "You're done here, effective immediately." Mason opened his mouth but said nothing. His authority vanished in an instant. Bradley then turned to Connor. "And you've watched it all happen, you've enabled it, you're complicit, you're done too." Connor's expression twisted in disbelief. "You can't just—" "I can," Bradley interrupted, voice cutting through the room like a blade. "And I am." Regional HR, who Bradley had called that morning, arrived just then. The 2 former managers were escorted off the floor. Quiet, stunned, irrelevant. When they were gone, Bradley turned back to the remaining team. "There will be changes, real ones. For now, we're assigning a temporary manager from outside this location, but long-term, I want someone who's earned it. Someone who still gives a damn." His eyes found Mia's in the crowd. "I'll be watching closely." No applause followed, no cheers. But the atmosphere had shifted. Something broken had been acknowledged, and maybe, just maybe, something new was beginning. The following week, Store 4 operated in a sort of suspended animation. Mason and Connor were gone, and the vacuum they left was undeniable. The regional training manager, Laurier, a no-nonsense woman with sharp eyes and a sharper voice, stepped in temporarily. Laurie was tough, but fair. She made it clear she wasn't there to coddle anyone. She wanted results, but demanded respect in return. Bradley returned, this time as himself, not as a ghost in disguise. He didn't give speeches, he didn't hover, he watched, listened. And he noticed Mia. She didn't seize control. She simply filled the void, calmly delegated when no one else stepped up, covered questions others didn't know how to answer, stayed behind after clock out to restock shelves without being asked, never expecting credit, never needing praise. By Friday, Bradley pulled Laurie aside in the back. "How's it going?" he asked. She leaned against a filing cabinet, arms folded. They're rattled, not broken. They're still processing the shakeup. But you've got some who are trying. She paused, then added, that tall guy had registered too. Tariq? He asked about cross-training. And the new girl, Elena? Smart. She's asking the right questions. You've got something here. Just need structure. Bradley nodded. And Mia? Lori's lips tightened, not from doubt, but from knowing too well what she was about to say. She doesn't know she's leading, she said, but she is. That evening, Bradley asked Mia to meet him in the break room after her shift. She arrived in uniform, ponytail a little frayed, her notebook still in hand like armor. Sit down, Bradley said gently, motioning to the table. She sat, cautious. I have a question for you, he said. Why haven't you quit? She blinked. Excuse me? You've had every reason. Bad management, no support, long hours, but you stayed. She looked down. I needed the job. I believe that, but I've seen others in the same position. They clock in, but they check out. You didn't. Why? Her voice was quiet. I liked what this place was supposed to be, I thought. If I worked hard enough, maybe it could be that again. Bradley stayed silent, letting her speak. I've had jobs where no one cared, where you were just a body on a schedule. But this place, it used to feel different. I figured if I left, it would just get worse. Maybe I could help hold it together. You did more than that, he said. She looked at him, unsure. I want to promote you. Her eyes widened. To what? Acting store manager. For now. Found the gum. You are, he said simply. You just haven't had the title. She folded her hands tightly. What if I mess it up? Then you fix it, like you've been doing. She didn't answer right away. Then, softly, can I have the weekend to think about it? Take the time, he said, but I already know what you're capable of. Monday morning, Mia arrived 15 minutes early. She wore a black button-down instead of her usual polo, her name tag clipped neatly to a fresh lanyard. When Lore handed her the new schedule and training packet, Mia just nodded and got to work. That first week wasn't smooth. It wasn't supposed to be. On Wednesday, 2 customers got into a heated argument at checkout. Something about a return policy gone wrong. Tariq froze. Alina tried to calm them, but the shouting grew. Mia stepped in. Sir, I need you to lower your voice, she said calmly. Zingli cut in. She cut in line. The man barked. No, I didn't, the woman replied. You were still outside. Bradley watched from behind a display. Mia didn't raise her voice. If there's an issue, I'm happy to help resolve it, she said evenly. But we don't yell here. Not at each other, not at employees. The man didn't back down, but she didn't either. If you'd like to continue your transaction, we can do that. If not, I'll have to ask you to leave. Eventually, he grumbled and stepped aside. Later, Bradley found Mia restocking phone cases. You handled that well, he said. She gave a tired smile. I almost didn't. I thought I was going to freeze. You didn't. It feels different, she admitted, when people are looking to you. By the end of the second week, the team began to realign. Tariq started learning inventory management. Alina revived the store's forgotten social media account and, within 3 days, posted a headphone comparison video that drew over 1,000 views. But not everyone was rising to the moment. A Friday, a part-time associate named Dylan no-showed for the 3rd time that month. No call, no text. Mia picked up her phone, this time not just as a peer but as a leader. When Dylan finally strolled in, 45 minutes late, a protein bar dangling from his hand like he owned the place, Mia met him in the back. You were scheduled at 10, she said, her voice steady but firm. Yeah, I know. Traffic, he replied, shrugging as he unwrapped his snack. You didn't respond to my message, Mia said. I need to know if you're coming in or not. I'm here now, aren't I? He mumbled through a bite, without a hint of apology. That's not how this works, she replied, her tone tightening. You've already had 2 no-shows. This is your 3rd. He scoffed. I'm part-time. It's not like I'm running the place. Bradley, walking by just then, caught the last part of the exchange. He stopped beside them, gaze level. Dylan, he said, can I see you in the office? Dylan rolled his eyes but followed. Inside, Bradley shut the door with a calm finality. He didn't sit. Let me be clear. This isn't about being part-time. It's about accountability. When you don't show, everyone else carries your weight. Dylan leaned back. It's just a job, man. Bradley's expression didn't change. Wrong company for that attitude. So what, I'm fired? Yes. Dylan blinked, surprised, but not angry. Just inconvenienced. Whatever. I've got other options. Bradley opened the door without a word. Dylan laughed. Mia was waiting outside. You didn't have to step in. I could have handled it. You did handle it, Bradley said. I just confirmed it. Saturday brought a different challenge. A man and woman entered the store, quiet, polite, accents hinting at somewhere far from Kansas. They were looking for a laptop. Elena approached them with warmth and clarity, breaking down specs and software like a pro. She headed to the back to retrieve a sealed unit. At the counter, Rick, a recent hire, leaned toward Tariq and whispered something under his breath. Bradley, restocking paper near the print station, didn't catch the whole comment, but he caught one word. Ugly, muttered. Unmistakable. He slurred. Tariq's expression froze. His shoulders stiffened. Bradley moved quickly, quietly. Mia, come with me, he said, then pointed to Rick. You too. Inside the office, he shut the door. Rick, what did you just say? Rick blinked, caught off guard. Nothing, I just... Don't lie. Rick glanced at Mia, then down at his shoes. It was a joke. No, it wasn't. It was just between me and Tariq. I didn't mean anything. Bradley turned to Mia. You're the manager, your call. Mia didn't hesitate. This store has 0 tolerance for that. You're done here. Rick opened his mouth, but the words never came. Bradley opened the door. Rick left, without another sound. Mia sat slowly. He was only here a week, she said. I didn't even know his last name yet. Bradley nodded. You made the right call. It doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to. That night, the store was quieter, but not empty. It felt like something heavy had been scrubbed clean, the kind of silence that follows truth, not fear. Bradley left early, no speech, no grand gesture, just a quiet walk down the aisles, past the softly humming end caps, toward the doors. He glanced back once. Mia was helping Elena adjust a display. They weren't putting on a show. They were just working, peacefully, proudly. He stepped into the crisp evening air and made himself a promise. No more Masons, not on his floor. Not ever again. By the 3rd week, Store 4 had found something close to balance, but not yet ease. Mason and Connor's absence had left a vacuum, and Mia was still holding the acting manager title like a torch no one else could carry. The responsibility weighed on her. She read schedules like battle plans. The team followed her lead, unsure but trying. Bradley visited only once, unannounced. He stayed under an hour. He watched Tariq update handheld scanners without being asked. Elena helped a man in the printer aisle, explaining ink refill protocols with confidence. But Mia's shoulders still carried tension. On Friday, she called. I want to talk, she said. That night, they met in the back office. The lights overhead buzzed faintly. "I've made a decision," she said, standing, "but I want to lay out some conditions." Bradley nodded. "Go ahead. I'll take the manager position." He exhaled, relief but also respect. "But only if we make real changes. I'm not here to be a bandage." "I'm listening." "First, we need a dedicated floor trainer, someone whose only job is onboarding new hires. 10 full shifts. Right now we're pairing rookies with whoever's free. That's how bad habits spread." "Approved. No more cutting hours over sales targets. If someone's falling short, we coach them. We don't starve them." "Done." "Quarterly meetings. In person. Someone from corporate, not just memos. People need to see who's behind the name." Bradley nodded again. "And one more thing. Bilingual staff. At least one person per shift. We've had 3 Spanish-speaking customers this week. I could only help one. I'll talk to HR." She sat down, finally. Then, "I'm in." They shook hands. No hesitation, no second guessing. On Monday, Lori returned to deliver the announcement in person. Mia was now officially the store manager. The team didn't clap because they were told to. They did it because they believed in her. Later that week, Mia reviewed 2 corporate candidates for the floor trainer role. She chose neither. "They talk about policy," she told Bradley, "not people." "I'd rather promote Alina." No protest. Alina was promoted that Friday. She didn't celebrate. She asked for a SKU list update so she could improve her training notes. The first test came days later. A woman came in with a budget and a list. She needed a laptop for her son's online classes, but looked overwhelmed. Alina started the conversation. Mia watched, then stepped in. "Would it help if we showed you a live model?" she asked gently. The woman nodded. Mia opened a display unit, ran a browser, pulled up a few sites. The woman nodded again, slower now. "Comfortable?" "I think this one's too expensive," she said quietly. "We can't go over 600. Mia didn't upsell. "There's another model, it's not on display, but I've used it for webinars. It's under budget." The woman left with that laptop, relief written across her face. Bradley saw it all from a quiet corner. That was trust. Real trust, the kind you don't see in quarterly graphs. The next day, he called an executive meeting. Regional leaders, HR directors, training heads, they filled the conference room. He didn't speak from notes. "Store 4 was a wake-up call," he began. "We had a toxic manager. We had great employees burning out and others coasting. I had to go undercover just to see the truth." He paused. "Can't happen again. From now on, every store would get a quarterly audit, not just financials, anonymous staff feedback, customer satisfaction scores, and conflict resolution reviews." A district manager spoke up. "That'll take resources." "Then we allocate them," Bradley replied. "We're not scaling dysfunction." Another asked, "Do we have enough people to replace bad leadership?" Bradley didn't blink. "We do now. We promote from the floor. That's how we got Mia." A week later, Store 4 received its first major shipment under the new system. No delays, no missing pallets. The supply rep stayed late, by choice, to walk the team through a new scanning protocol. Mia hadn't asked. It offered. That night in the break room, Mia and Alina reviewed training updates. Tariq leaned in the doorway. "This place doesn't feel like a job anymore," he said. "Feels like a team." Mia looked up. Her smile was quiet. "And we're getting there." Bradley's final visit that month was unannounced. He walked the floor, shook hands, asked real questions. Customers were smiling. Staff were collaborating. Sophia, the new bilingual hire, was helping a couple compare tablet specs, seamlessly, naturally. Near the back, Mia was adjusting a speaker display. She straightened when she saw him. Didn't expect you today? I like being unpredictable, he said. How's the new team? Still learning, she replied. But they care, and they listen. That's enough for now. Bradley nodded. Store 4 is our new standard, he said. We're rewriting what good management means. She didn't smile, but her voice was resolute. Good, then let's hold the line. Bradley walked out quietly, no fanfare, just the sound of the automatic doors and the afternoon sun on his face. Above the entrance, the store sign caught the light. A brand name he'd once feared was fading now stood for something again. And this time, it meant something worth protecting.